So we're here in the middle of the state of Florida and water temp 65 degrees. I think we got some good things coming today.
Yeah, man, you know, it's February. The bass have been trying to spawn. We're on a new moon. Everything's lining up to look really good. It's supposed to get like 75 today, like you said. So when that all shows up, you know, usually big things happen here in this state.
Absolutely. Maybe there'll be a couple under some mats to start and find some spawners later in the day once that sun gets up.
Yeah, you know, this area right here, we're in the Fellsmere area. It's known for giant bass. So hopefully we can wrangle with a couple of them today.
Been a couple years for me. I might be a little rusty, but see what we can make happen.
Maybe you can knock the dust off. I mean, it's been a good, what, 5 years since we bass fished together?
Absolutely.
That's kind of when our friendship started, you know, it started on the water. So looking forward to it. Great day. Have a little friendly competition. See if you can keep up.
Let's see what happens. So this week we're fishing with Laremy Strickland. He's a longtime friend of mine, a great bass fisherman, and I'm looking forward to it.
So today me and Brandon are going to like one of our favorite lakes in the past. You know, we've caught a lot of giants there over the years and had a lot of good days fishing, and this place can be really good at times. So today we're gonna go back to our old roots. You know, I think it's been a good 5 years since we bass fished together. So we're gonna go back and, you know, have a little buddy battle and go have a good day on the water.
Well, we know this pond's got some bigs in it. What do you say we have us a little competition?
Yeah, I'd say it does. You know, it's been a while since we fished down here, but man, we've caught some giant bags. So what do you say we do our best 5? We got 2 scales, and at the end of the day, we'll kind of hide from each other. You know, we'll get a good ballpark of how it's gonna go down, but at the end of the day, we'll just reveal what we got.
Well, it's been a few years, so what do I get, a 3 or 4 pound advantage here or what?
Yeah, 3 or 4 ounces.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. So when I was like 12 years old, I went and did a bass tournament with my uncle in a little bitty john boat. And there was so many like big, you know, nice bass boats around, and to be there in like a little john boat competing was something that I was like definitely all in. And after that day on the water, I think I ended up catching like a big one that day. And man, going in there to weigh in with that big one in front of all them people, you know, with the big, nice, fancy boats, that's what really did it for me. And my, you know, love for competitive bass fishing definitely started that day. Yeah, you know, this place is like really matted out right now. There's a lot of underwater hydrilla. But there's holes out here in this hydrilla that them big fish sit in, you know, and they sit actually in the hydrilla and around. So we're just gonna go through here, throw a speed worm, chatterbait, see if we can pick a few up this morning. And then eventually work into, you know, flipping some mats, and hopefully by this afternoon when the sun comes out and this fog burns off, we'll get to see some big ones on the bed and get to play around with them.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. Back when I was 13 to 15 years old, I did a lot of bass fishing. My parents would drive me and a couple buddies over to the Wednesday night bass tournaments in Inverness, Florida. And that's really how Laremy and I met, competing against each other, fishing for bass. And from then on, we grew a relationship and have fished together ever since, saltwater and freshwater. We do always enjoy getting on the water together.
Gosh, first bite of the morning. Uh-oh.
When we started fishing, Laremy caught one quick, running the trolling motor right up front. And right then I had to lay the law down that we were gonna switch every fish, because when you're going down a mat line, those little points that come out, the first person to flip into that point's usually gonna get the bite first. So I was at a big disadvantage when you're not running the trolling motor. It's a good way to start it. We just got over to these mats and within 5 minutes, got a bite. Not a giant, but they're here.
Look at that, man. I get off the trolling motor and he's already
No, we're switching every single fish.
Uh-oh, we're going to fit every fish we're going to switch out, huh?
We ain't doing none of that.
Well, don't leave me none.
There we go.
We got us competition now. You know what that means? That means it's my turn to step up on the throne.
I got a feeling it's going to be a good day today.
Yeah, we got here pretty quick and got some bites. You know, all we're doing right here is this matted hydrilla here, and it creates a canopy under it. It grows up in mushrooms, and then bass sit right there in that canopy and feed. So there's miles and miles of it to come.
We're not looking at each other's weights, but that's about a tie so far, if you ask me.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna tell you, that is a largemouth bass. I don't know when's the last time you've seen one or not. I know it don't have a spot on its tail or anything. This fishery is a very clear lake. It ain't probably 5-6 feet in its deepest. There's a lot of Florida submergent vegetation. You got hydrilla, you have hyson mats, pennywort, cattails. I mean, really everything that a bass fisherman looks for is definitely in this lake. You know, certain times of the year it changes because with the weather and the winds in this place, it definitely can change. So every time you go, you know, it's really like you're going to a whole new lake, but the same type of vegetation. So you gotta, you know, fish around until you find them again.
When I went to this lake for the first time, we caught a mega bag. We had 4 10-pounders, a 12-pounder. I had really high hopes going into today that we were gonna catch some really big bass. This looks like a really good spot. We got a bunch of deep water around it, open, and it's a little bit different than what we have been flipping, so sure, looks like a good spot to get a bite.
Yes, it does. They get under this stuff really, really good. You know, and probably what this stuff's did, it's floated over hydrilla. And through time, you know, lack of sunlight has created a very nice canopy under it. And usually, as I was saying, bass like to get under it. See? Bingo, bango.
Snap pull right in half. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, it's one for the good guys out of the back.
Oh, is that what that was? I figured I'd let you have that one for this one. So the first part of the day, you know, there's a cold front coming. The weather's definitely changing. It's foggy, it's misty, you know, kind of mist and rain. Definitely not the ideal conditions, you know, to start off your morning. So we kind of took a different approach, you know. We started out casting a little bit and that really wasn't working too good. So then we evolved into flipping hydrilla. And you know, with the cold night that night, I figured the fish would pull up in there and you know, they did, and we caught a few here and there until the sun come out later.
That's fun right there.
I say we get out of here and let's go make a little move to another little hard line.
So we started off catching a few this morning and it kind of slowed down a little bit. So we made this move here. It's a little bit deeper, I'm noticing, on this edge, and got a little bit more clean water than that clumped up stuff, and see if we can make something happen. We saw a big one back there cruising.
Yeah, that was a real big one. It's definitely a lot cleaner edge right here.
There we go.
How we getting them?
We had a little competition today. We were gonna do the biggest 5 bass. We brought 2 scales. We are very competitive, so it was neck and neck all day long, and we both ended up catching some really nice fish at the end of the day, and we didn't know who was gonna win.
All right, B, we tied up now. So this time of year with all the weather, you know, you have cold fronts and then it'll get hot and then it'll have another cold front coming through. So this time of the year is kind of like sporadic for bass fishing. You have them coming up wanting to spawn, then the cold weather will knock them back and they go in the mats, and then they'll come up to spawn, and then right before they get there, the cold weather will knock them back. So basically you go day to day when bass fishing. You know, you look at the water temperature, the air outside. There's so many different components that, you know, set up for that day of fishing. We just kind of went and we fished the moment for that day. Old chatterbug.
Promise you I'm weighing that thing.
I hear you.
You ain't getting an ounce on me.
I'm about to step it up. He ain't giving me nothing this morning.
So as we set out, it was super foggy. You could barely see to the end of the canal, and it was really cold. I knew we were gonna kind of have our hands full, and we went to flipping, and it started out to be a good day. Decent, yeah. They're not big, decent. Maybe this afternoon bite, they'll start picking up a little bit. It's been a grind so far, but see if we can catch us a couple.
You know, leading up through the day, with the changing conditions, I mean, it went from mist and rain to sunshine in the afternoon. You know, so you definitely have to be on, you always have to be on the next step. and bass fishing.
We've really been trying to make that flip and bite work, and it's been a grind all day. I mean, we've only got a few bites, and I seem to pick up the chatterbait, and we got a couple bites right off the rip there, so maybe we'll work through these bays and see if we can start getting a couple fish to bite on the moving baits, try to get a reaction strike. Nice one.
Nice one too. Old first cast. We might have figured something out, B.
When we got out there and started fishing, I was kind of disappointed to see what had happened to the lake. It's been a couple years since I've been there, and the spraying that is going on in Florida and lakes all over, there was a lot of dead, basically hyacinths laying on the bottom, a lot of dead vegetation. The lake really wasn't thriving like the last time I was there. So what that does for the fishery is it repositions those bass all over the place. When those mats are green and they're really, really looking good like you want them, those bass will get right up tight underneath them, but when they spray them and they turn around and start sinking to the bottom, those fish are gonna move. So where we used to fish all the time was just basically a dead zone because it was sprayed so much. So we had to regroup and move out in the middle of the lake and really adjust throughout the day for what they had done when they were spraying. Of course, you left the net in the truck in case this happens right here. Good. Right
I might let you have him. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that one right there hurts. That one will come back to bite you, especially in a little friendly competition like we're having. There's a 7-8 pounder. I had her halfway back to the boat and she just spit the hook. It was a giant, one that I want for sure.
That was definitely a giant one. I hate for you to lose it, almost.
She launched in the air off that gun bait too. I mean, it was just an absolute giant. Lost a giant halfway back to the boat. It was a 7 or 8 pounder. The very next cast, he loses a 5. So we had a pattern established then, and for the rest of the day, we could go run those topwaters and get a lot of bites. But keep grinding here and see if we can get another one.
They're starting to bite for sure.
Made a bait change and that seems to be helping. I tied this topwater on. We got some overcast skies now, and maybe this afternoon bite will kick up. It's been a grind, but we're making something happen now. Big one, giant. There you go, baby. Get him.
That's a good one.
Keep him tight. Oh yeah, nice one. Solid fish.
So as the day wore on, you know, midday, I knew the sun was starting to shine. I knew things were definitely gonna start changing. And by this time in the day, me and Brandon's bags were pretty close. You know, we're catching like the same size fish. We're going bass for bass. And, you know, coming into that afternoon with the warming temperatures, I knew things were definitely gonna step it up. And boy, did they. Them little ones are fun, buddy, but I want some of them big ones we've missed.
That was a nice one, but a couple of these giants we had, it's gonna be really nice. Get one of those big ones to bite. We got this flat, it's 3 or 4 foot deep, suspended hydrilla, and all these big spawners are just getting staged up, and they're gonna move up there on the bank and do their thing and spawn here on this new moon.
Oh yeah, they're definitely coming. You know, all we got right here is, we got this big flat, like you say, and we got like the perfect overcast, a little bit of light breeze, get that ripple on the water, and that's really when them fish like them topwater plugs.
We've had a couple giant chances too, just not staying connected. Getting that pattern figured out was huge though. We're starting to really kind of key in and get them dialed up.
Yeah, we are. Me and Brandon, you know, we're pretty head-to-head fishermen. You know, he'll beat me some days I get lucky and beat him, but you know, every day that we go fishing, it's kind of competitive. Even if we're fishing a team tournament together, you know, where we put our bags together, we're still competing to see who can catch the big fish that day. So it's definitely a fun day on the water. You know, it's always nice to go with someone who knows all the techniques and definitely can catch them. Big one.
There we go.
Uh-oh, B.
That's a mulligan I was getting
right there. Uh-oh, B, that bite right there might change a few things. You might better get worried. We're in that golden hour. What a pretty fish. Big one. That's starting to call in process.
So going into today, I had really high hopes, and with the cold front, it was a little bit tougher than we expected. And right at the end of the day, we were losing light. I ended up catching a pretty nice one. And right when we landed that fish, I knew dinner might be on Laramie tonight.
He didn't miss it that time, buddy. Good one. So leading late into the day, you know, I was ready to call it. I knew I had a little edge on Brandon, and he throws his bait over there and has a pretty good one swirl on it. And before I could get casted over there, he casted over there again, and he caught it, and it was definitely his biggest fish of the day. And you know, when he caught that fish, I knew that might be the fish that did it for him.
It has been a grind
Of a day.
but it's a good end on chunker, 3-pounder or so. Nice fish.
Yeah, definitely a nice fish.
Put this one on the scale, hide her a little bit and see what happens. Solid fish.
Is it tight
Bumped
or
it
what?
up. Be a tight one.
Pretty fish.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
Yes, sir, it sure is.
On this episode, we had a lot of different key baits. We were kind of what you call junk fishing. We started off in the morning flipping a Reaction Innovation. This is a Kinky Beaver in the Tramp Stamp color, and it is a black and blue with a green pumpkin back, and it's a really, really good creature bait. We pinch the tails off, and it really gives those flappers a lot of action. We were rotating between 1 ounce and 1.5 ounces tungsten, depending on how thick the vegetation we were flipping into was. And we got a few bites on that in the morning. And as the day progressed, we ended up switching. We were throwing a chatterbait and picking up a chatterbait a lot through the day. When we were going to the next mat, we would pick it up and start slinging it. And we caught some fish in between in those little bays, throwing this, it's a jackhammer. This is a 1/2 ounce shad color. We were using the light hitch colored trailer with the paddle tail. That keeps it a little bit higher in the water column than a fluke or any of those type baits. So we were yo-yoing that thing through the hydrilla, and it would trigger that reaction bite. Once we got away from the mats and got away from the flipping, we really set the chatterbaits down and ended up picking up a topwater. This is a Rivers to Sea whopper plopper. This is the 110, and we were covering a lot of ground with this, and it was getting us a lot of really good bites. I was throwing this on a 7-foot medium action TD Soul casting rod with the Coastal Series 200 reel paired with 50-pound diamond braid, and no leader, just straight braid, and it's a reaction bite, so you don't need that clear line that they can't see because they're not seeing the line. That bait's moving pretty quick at a pretty good rate, and we would give it a little pop every now and again to get that noise out there. On a little bit of chop on the water, this thing was getting smashed by some big ones. We caught a couple decent fish on them and lost some really big ones. We ended up sliding over towards the bank after fishing these bays, and I was still throwing the whopper plopper, but Laramie switched to the Trixie Shark. This is Houdini colored. He was throwing it on a 5/0 owner plain Texas rig hook with a 1/16 ounce weight and burning it across little dollar lily pads. These fish were spawning on their beds underneath these pads and in some hydrilla, so they would react to this bait thinking it's a predator or maybe a brim coming to eat their fry, and they were smashing it on the surface. So these two baits were key in the afternoon to get a bunch of bites. So at the end of the day, it was dark. We pulled up to the ramp, got our lights out, pulled our scales out, and I had them by a couple ounces.
Well, we fished a damn long day of fishing right there, but
I mean, son.
we caught a lot of fish, a lot of small ones. I got 4 over 2 pounds, and I got 1 3.5 to come for 12-14.
12-14, boy. I guess I got 4 over 2 pounds as well, 1 over 3, but I guess I'm a little shy at 12-10.
Oh, looks like you're buying dinner tonight.
I am. If we ever get there. You know, it was a long day, you know, hard grinding day, but we made it happen. A lot of fish catching.
Absolutely, we're right here on a cold front, and it was tough fishing, but a lot of little ones and seen a few big ones, lost some really big ones.
Yeah, we did. We lost a couple really big ones that would have been a deal sealer
They hurt
if either
for
one
sure,
of us landed them. But you know, that's part of it. That's part of bass fishing. That's just not every day's a mash 'em day, but fun to go out there and catch some.
Absolutely, got it done and caught a lot on topwater. That was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
It was a great day on the water. I had a blast. I always enjoy fishing with Laramie, and it's been a couple years, so that was a great time to get out there and be able to fish with him. And maybe in the near future, you'll see me on a bass trail.